school is supposed to be safe. But what happens when the unthinkable walks through the doors? Today, I'm sharing 3 true stories of school lockdowns, moments when fear took over and survival became the only goal. Turn off the lights. Lock your doors. This is horror that doesn't just haunt your dreams, it lives in the places we thought were safe. Story 1. The Screaming Man. It was a typical Friday afternoon, the kind where the air feels heavy with anticipation. Spring break was just hours away, and the energy in the classroom was electric. Our calculus teacher, usually laid back and easygoing, decided to lighten the mood by playing a game on Sporkle. We were in the middle of a brand logo quiz when it happened. The dean's voice crackled through the loudspeaker, sharp and panicked. "This is not a drill. Go into lockdown immediately." The room froze. Our teacher, who always seemed unshakable, sprinted to the lights, plunging us into darkness. He herded us to the back corner of the room, his hands trembling as he whispered for us to stay quiet. The power cut out moments later, the hum of the fluorescent lights replaced by an oppressive silence. Then, we heard it. A man's voice, raw and guttural, screaming down the hallway. "I'll kill all of you." The sound was primal, like an animal cornered and ready to strike. 2 girls in the class began to sob, their cries muffled by their hands. The rest of us exchanged terrified glances, our breath shallow and uneven. The banging started next, first on the lockers, then on our classroom door. Each thud reverberated through the room, shaking the walls and our fragile sense of safety. The man's voice grew louder, more desperate. "Open up! Open up!" One of the crying girls let out a scream, and for a moment, the banging stopped. We held our breath, praying he would move on. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the noise faded. The man's screams grew distant, echoing down the hallway until they were swallowed by silence. 10 minutes later, the dean returned to the loudspeaker. His voice was calm now, but the words sent chills down our spines. A mentally unstable man had entered the building, assaulted the front desk attendant, and vanished into the school. They didn't know if he was armed. They didn't know where he was. The most horrifying part? Later that night, a janitor found the man sleeping in a storage closet. Sticking out of his pocket was a .44 for Magnum. No one knows how he got in. No one knows if he was ever caught. But I'll never forget the sound of his voice or the way my heart pounded as he screamed for our blood. Story 2. The Man in the Window. My school had 2 lunch periods, and I was in the second one. It was an overcast October day, the kind where the sky feels like it's pressing down on you. The rain had started to fall, a steady drizzle that made the world feel grey and lifeless. During the first lunch period, the loud booms echoed across the campus. At first, I thought it was thunder, but the screams that followed told a different story. Campus security rushed in, yelling at everyone to get into the multipurpose room. Kids in line for lunch dropped their trays and ran, the smell of pizza and fries replaced by the metallic tang of fear. The multipurpose room was massive, with a back wall made entirely of glass. As we filed in, security hurried to cover the windows with thick black curtains. My friend Eric asked one of the adults what was going on. When he came back, his face was pale. "There's a man," he whispered. He's barricaded himself in his house across the street. He's threatening to kill himself and anyone who tries to stop him. The man was a registered sex offender, and he'd been watching the school for weeks. My friend Brandy lived next door to him. She told me about the previous Halloween, when she saw him at his window, cutting his arm and writing in his own blood, "Don't come here, or I'll kill you." We thought it was a Halloween prank. We were wrong. We stayed in that room for an hour, the air thick with tension. When we were finally allowed to leave, we were escorted to our classrooms one by one. The man was eventually taken into custody, but I'll never forget the look on Brandy's face when she told me about the blood on his window. Some horrors stay with you, no matter how much time passes. Story 3. The Basement. I was 22, fresh out of college, and working as a computer intern at my old high school. The job was great, my office was in the basement, a small, cozy space with air conditioning, a flat-screen TV, and all the tech I could ever need. It was a sanctuary until the day it became a nightmare. I was eating lunch when the call came in. The school was on lockdown. Someone had entered the building, possibly armed. I turned off the lights and hid under my desk, texting my co-workers, Dave and Gary, but they didn't respond. 20 minutes passed in silence. Then the basement door creaked open. Footsteps echoed down the stairs, slow and deliberate. Someone entered the office but didn't turn on the lights. I held my breath, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure they could hear it. My phone dinged, a text from Dave. I didn't dare look at it. The footsteps moved closer. I could feel the presence of whoever it was looming over me. I clenched my teeth, praying they wouldn't find me. And then, a hand grabbed my arm and yanked me to my feet. It was a man in a red plaid shirt and a black cap. He told me he was hiding too, that he'd come to pick up his son. But something about him felt off. His eyes were too wide, his voice too calm. I told him there was an exit down the hall, and he nodded, but he didn't move. Then, I looked at my phone. Dave's text read, "Dude, this is crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I looked up, and the man was staring at me. He knew I bolted for the stairs, the sound of a gunshot ringing out behind me. The bullet ricocheted off something metal, but I didn't stop. I made it upstairs, where the police were waiting. They caught the man as he tried to escape through the basement exit. Mr. Buckley survived the shooting, but no one ever found out why the man targeted him. All I know is that the sound of that gunshot still haunts me, echoing in my mind every time I step into that basement. These stories are a reminder that fear can strike anywhere, even in places we think are safe. Schools are supposed to be sanctuaries, but sometimes they become the stage for our worst nightmares. Stay safe, stay aware, and never take your safety for granted.